Well, hello, and Happy New Year to you. I'm Scott Stevens, Goldsboro City Manager. I hope 2015 is starting off well. I, for one, enjoyed the nice warm weather as we were getting into the new year. And as we're recording this, we're moving into what will be a little more wintry weather, or January-like, so that'll be fine as well. And there'll be those of us that think that's the right weather for the season. So whatever it is, I hope 2015 is good to all of you. A couple things to update you on project-wise. Wayne Memorial Drive, our project there, well, I say ours, our project with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. The traffic signals are back functioning like they should be. The medians are fairly complete. We still have some work to do on the landscaped areas. And then we still are working with DOT to try to make the U-turning movements better. And better meaning so that a Suburban or truck can make that U-turn in a safe manner. And that is something our Department of Transportation is working on. I hope to have a time frame on that very soon. But we are aware of that issue that's been created with the medians. And the intent of the project is to make it safer and more efficient. And as that corridor carries more traffic, I think the medians will serve us well in the future. So we appreciate your patience with us for those that use that corridor, and to please ask you to exercise caution in making the U-turns, and we'll make some improvements there, I hope, in the very near future. Spence Avenue had some issues with our resurfacing project. I say ours, NCDOT's resurfacing project, and then having the traffic signal loops put back in. The signal sort of ran in free range for quite a number of months last fall. They should all be functioning again. The loops are back in. The lights along Spence are functioning better as well. So those that use those two corridors ought to be seeing improvements. Still some more to go, but I feel good about where we've come from where we were. Street resurfacing, the City Council had authorized $575,000 in last year's budget. We spent most of that. We had a little extra to do, and we added some from the sewer fund to cover resurface a section of Mulberry that had been torn up due to a sewer project. That project has been awarded. It's about $170,000 worth of street resurfacing that should occur as the weather permits in the January-February timeframe. And again, you have to have the streets and the air temperature warm enough so the asphalt will not be damaged as it's put in place. And so as the weather allows, that street resurfacing should occur along a small section of Mulberry, a small section of the north part of John Street, a small section of East Palm, and then a small section of Hillcrest. So more to come on that, but we hope to have that done in the coming months. Some additional resurfacing, but not street resurfacing, is our Greenway projects. We've received a number of grants. The county received one on behalf of the city, and the city had received one. Those projects, one behind Wayne Memorial Hospital and Wayne Community College, are underway. We've put the stone in place there. Resurfacing in that hopefully will occur in the coming months. We've also put stone in place behind Bicycle World up to Royal Avenue. That one is ready for resurfacing, and the contractor tells us they'll move in there in a few weeks. So in January, that one just north of Ash Street between Ash and Royal should be should be surfaced and for use from that point forward. So excited to have those projects coming, and more on the Greenway front to come as we move forward in time. Our Center Street project, many people, I hope, visited downtown through the Christmas holidays. I did hear comments that Center Street wasn't as lit up as it has been in years past, and that's because, one, we didn't have as much electricity on the poles because they are being removed. We didn't have as many trees to decorate, and so I think next year for Christmas you'll see a vastly improved Center Street in terms of lighting compared to this year. But our contractor is making good progress, and I just want to share we had a Christmas parade downtown, so I hope folks were able to come and enjoy that, even though it's a bit of a weather day, and not quite rainy, but threatening rain, but really a nice event. I appreciate the Chamber putting that on in our downtown, and thank those that visited. But you see the progress. Not sure what it looks like to those that don't visit on a regular basis through the fence, but our contractor TA11 is ahead of schedule, or slightly ahead of schedule, making very good progress. He's been working in the southbound lanes of Center Street. They've been closed for many months. For those business owners and property owners that have endured that, those lanes should be back open to traffic in a few months, meaning in the March time frame. And so they'll have the new cross section, the new wide road. We will then move two-way traffic over there, and we'll start to work on the northbound lanes of Center Street. So that's the process, with all of that being done by November of this year. So our businesses that have endured having a fence and sort of limited access to their business, that should get better in the coming months. We'll move to the other side of the street, and the businesses on that side, we would ask their patience with us, and certainly encourage patrons to please come down and visit our downtown businesses and restaurants, and support them during this construction as well, and then help them make it through this construction time period as well. T11 did ask if they could close a small portion or one block with no businesses on it of the northbound section of Center Street, so that has occurred, and they did remove the asphalt and are trying to stay ahead of schedule by doing the utility work on that block, so between Spruce and Chestnut. But again, we're pleased with the progress and where they are in the project at this point, so excited about that. Our transfer center project, they're slightly ahead of schedule as well, moving along with Daniels and Daniels there, and then Daniels and Daniels is also doing the Walnut Street project, and there's a gas line issue we're working through, but that project I believe will stay on track, and that all of them we expect to be completed again by the fall of 2015. So it should be a transformed downtown in terms of our public infrastructure, and I hope it will be worth all of that effort for our business folks, and we do appreciate their patience with us. The city recognized, had 6 employees retire in December, and again, over 146 years of experience left the city. I want to thank those that work with us and those that have retired from the city. Provides an opportunity for others, I guess, to move in and replace them, and for us to bring some new folks or new employees on board. But that's a lot of experience to leave in 1 month, and again, I do want to thank them for their service and for the others that are here as well. We also had an employee recognized at the state level. Assistant Chief Lisa Johnson received the State American Legion Firefighter Award for her efforts here in Goldsboro and Wayne County, and a big part of that is working with Goldsboro High School and our Explorers program, so some other things as well. But I do want to thank Lisa for her efforts there and bringing that recognition to Goldsboro. And the Delisha Lee in our Parks and Recreation Department received the Kiwanis Action Club Supporter of the Year Award. And again, we have employees that are doing great things all times. Oftentimes or sometimes are recognized by outside organizations, sometimes they're not, but we do thank everyone for doing their part to make the community better. And I am proud to work with the group of people that we have here. I want to speak at least a little bit to 2 editorials that were out in our local newspaper in December. The first was a December 14th editorial that was really critical of our police chief and his commenting and not reassuring of the community, or maybe saying the same thing over and over. And the second one was a December 21st editorial, which really talked about optimism for the community. And I found it interesting that 2 weeks difference. One is a fairly negative editorial, and one's a fairly positive editorial. And I do think it's important to report the news and for the community to know what is going on. But I also think that part of the chief's job in terms of solving and investigating and trying to prevent crime is to also reassure the community. And I think our chief does a nice job of all of those areas of trying to prevent, solving crimes when they occur, and then also trying to reassure the community when things are going on. And if we felt the community at large was in danger, then I think we would need to deliver that message as well. In terms of the shootings that are going on in our community, our homicide rates are down. That's not to say they're where we'd like them to be. We'd like them to be 0. But when I look back over 4 years, in 2011 we had 7 homicides. In 2012 we had 13 homicides. In 2013 we had 5. And in 2014 we had 6. And as I would say, any is too many. But we certainly are trending better, and we're back to what our sort of historical average has been with 5 or 6 a year. And again, we'd like that to be 0. But when a shooting occurs or when a crime occurs, we are oftentimes pressed for information by a deadline of our media. And unfortunately, crime and solving it doesn't necessarily work that way. We are sensitive to deadlines. We do want to make sure the community knows what's going on. But it does take time from the time we receive a 911 call to the time we do an investigation. It takes some time, and we do ask for patience through that. We will try to share, or we always share what we can, but we aren't all-knowing until we get to a crime scene and try to work through what has occurred. And so it does take some time to get there, and we do ask for some patience with that. We also worry about what we release and what we don't release. We don't want to release information that would jeopardize us making an arrest in the case. And so that is always sort of a balance for us of trying to disclose what occurred so the public knows what's going on, because it is the public's business and the community does have a right to know. But we also have to balance that with our ability to then make an arrest. And so it's a balancing act for us, and I think we're pretty good at it. But there are times where we probably withhold information that our local media would like us to share, but we don't want to jeopardize making the arrest and being able to solve the crime. And so I do feel that our police department is doing a lot of good things on the proactive side. We've been involved in our middle schools and elementary schools for a very long time with our, what was a DARE program that's now turned into our gang awareness program. and we've got 2 officers assigned to that. Not every department funds officers in the school, but we have funded those 2 officers for a number of years. Corporal Jones and McDuffie are currently there, and they are doing a phenomenal job of being in front of our youth before they turn to a life of crime. And so, it's hard to tell how many lives they've impacted in a positive way and how many kids they've kept out. But that's a proactive measure, trying to make the community better. Another new effort that our chief has instituted is our GPAC program. And again, it's a proactive effort based on the High Point model, where in High Point, for 20 years, have been calling in their worst offenders. Some years ago, their chief told me they'd called in 1,000 of their worst offenders. 900 of them had never had another violent offense. That's significant. A 90% rate of not having another violent offense. We are trying to emulate that here in Goldsboro. Our current chief has investigated that and went from not so sure about the program to being very excited and supportive of the program. We've dedicated resources toward that. We've called in over 100 offenders in our community here locally. To date, we're seeing about that same percentage, that about 10% have reoffended. The others so far have not. And so it's not fixing it all yet, but those are very proactive measures of making the community better. And I do think the chief's words to reassure the community are right. Even if they do sound repetitive, they are in fact correct. It's not to say every place is safe. It's not to say you can't be hurt on US 70 or Royal Avenue or Wayne Memorial or any part of our community, because those dangers exist in Goldsboro and any other part of our state or country. But I do think the chief is doing an excellent job for the community. And I do think all of us, speaking well publicly about what's going on, reporting the facts, and this is media's job, but we also all need to identify and work on problems in the community. And there's a lot of that going on as well, within law enforcement, within education, within other areas, economic development, and so forth. So again, we appreciate the support of everyone in the community of trying to get the message out of what's good in Goldsboro and then working together on sharing. And sometimes in sharing information, particularly in a criminal activity, it's a balancing act. And I never wanted, or always am a little reluctant to how does our criminal element take the news media? Does that become a positive thing for them to be recognized there? And I always worry a little bit about that when you promote it, it makes it more of it happen. So I would just, I guess that's a concern for myself and the chief to work through. I'd also like to mention that our state NAACP chapter came and spoke to the city council at their January 5th meeting with concerns about law enforcement and community relations in North Carolina. So not specifically to Goldsboro, because I believe our relations are good here, and our mayor certainly feels very strongly that we have a good police force. He's been involved with our police force for 30-some years as personnel director here and as mayor here. He knows a lot of the officers personally. He's sworn in almost all of the officers on our force. But again, to talk about community relations, there was a list of ideas. I think there were 8 ideas the NAACP presented. We are doing most of those things, and are at least looking at some of the others that we are not doing at this point. But I think what it does more than anything is open the dialogue, and we are very happy to be part of that. The mayor and council were very supportive and responsive and offered their willingness to talk to any group about police relations. I would say the chief and I and the staff are willing to do that as well. And so I think you'll, at least if you want to be part of that dialogue, that opportunity will exist. It existed before, but it's just a little more attention on at this point, which generally brings out more interest from community. So we hope you'll want to be part of that, and we'll take advantage as those opportunities come up. A couple other projects going on in the community. We had a request from some younger members of our community about a skate park at our December city council meeting. They spoke at the council's public comment section. It happened to be we have been working on a skateboard project, and our Parks and Rec director was able to pull most of the details of that together, and with those young men, I guess, urging on the project or bringing it up again, got it back at least in terms of moving forward. And at our the council's January 5th meeting, Parks and Rec director really shared that his hope and his intention right now is to have it located on a lot beside O'Reilly's on Ash Street. It's also adjacent to Stundy Creek Park. O'Reilly's has indicated a willingness to donate that property. We still have some details to work out, but we have a mobile skate park that we purchased from Seymour Johnson. So with the construction of a concrete pad and some minor grading, we would have an ability to place those items back in service. And for those that would want to participate, I think that would be an ideal location. So I think that is coming soon. And again, some details to still work through, but overall good development there. Willowdale Cemetery, we've had some conversation of that in the past year. We've had a private group that has provided money to purchase properties really near the John and Elm intersection, but it's been a number of properties in that area. There was a lot of underbrush on a several acre site that the city had removed, so you can now see through there, and we've cleaned up a lot of the debris that was there. Really opens up the area, and the intent is to make it visually better and improve the appearance of that intersection of Elm and John. I think it will do that. There's some houses to be removed, and so we're working through that, about 6 homes in that area to be removed. Excuse me, and then the city will have an arborist and a cemetery planner come in and sort of look at what might be the best use, which trees are the most valuable to save, and then what might be the best use as you're trying to tie it into a Willowdale cemetery. And whether that's an expansion of the cemetery or just a continuation of green space, I think those things are yet to be determined. And then we make a decision, or the council will, on how to move forward from there. So I do want to thank the group that's been involved in Willowdale and has an interest there. That certainly has sparked an effort and a revitalization of that area, and I think there'll be more to come in the Willowdale Cemetery area before much longer. Haven't talked about the multi-sports complex in quite a while, or at least several months, so I wanted to at least give an update. We've been working with the Air Force on a lease. We had hoped to sign that lease in October, November. That got pushed to December, January. It has now been pushed out to probably June or July. The reasoning for that is, one, the length of our lease that we're requesting has, in the Air Force attorney's opinion, and some attorneys outside of the Goldsboro area believe that we ought to follow a different path to get there, and it's just a process of moving through that. So we still believe that project is in good shape, and moving forward, we'll just be about 6 to 9 months behind where we thought we would be, and we're still working on a total funding for that. We have some funding. It was all to be paid for with travel and tourism money, and so we still have some work to do in terms of where does all that money come from. But again, that money is provided through our hotel motel tax occupants, so it's not local property taxes paying for that. And again, that project should be moving forward later this year. A lot of activities coming up, even though it's January. I would encourage you to visit our website, our Facebook page, look for activities. Paramount Theater has a lot of activities in January and February. Parks and Recreation continues to be busy. And we'll just encourage you, if you want to be involved and be part of the community, there's a lot of activities going on in and around our community. So reach out to us. If you can't find it, call us, and we'll at least get you in the right direction. But we do try to update the Facebook and website on a very regular time or schedule for those that like to receive information that way. As always, I would tell you, call us. We're here to serve you. You can call my office, 580-4330. That gets into the manager's office. If you'd rather go to the website, there's a citizen request tab there. You can send an email into my office. Whatever works for you best is how we'd like you to communicate with us. We're trying to give you multiple ways to do that. But with that, I would still, as I started, wish you a Happy New Year and a prosperous 2015. Thank you.